What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV. Match it back here for a match preview stream as Spurs make the trip up the M1, up the M6 to the four-time league champions in Manchester City. A ground where, you know, we don't have the worst record there, do we? You know,
the DEKIHAD.
The DEKIHAD,
Come
exactly.
On.
Like, some of our best performances of recent years have come at that stadium.
And usually at some of our lowest points as well.
At some of our lowest points
so,
as well. So
it's one of those where you just never know what Tottenham's going to turn up at the Etihad. I can't remember the last time we've gone there and like actually just put in a stinker of performance and been battered. Obviously, there was one year under Conte we lost 4-2, but we were 2-0 up in that game, and there were points we were playing well.
We did concede 4 goals in one half.
We conceded 4 goals and a half, but again, like we went there having not having a great season. We went 2-0 up quite early, and we're like, okay, maybe things are turning, but we end up losing 4-2. We obviously won there at the Etihad the year before that with Harry Kane, one of the best individual performances you're ever likely to see.
Champions League game,
4-3. So we've had some really good performances there at the Etihad. Obviously, securing Champions League football for the very first time at the Etihad as well. Very famous moment. Last season, we got an unlikely 3-3 draw with a very mix and match team. Somehow cobbled together a performance with loads of injuries, and we ended up getting a draw. So it's one of those where even though the odds are against you, the way we always go there hopeful of getting a result, I guess.
Yeah, is it too much to ask for like Ange Postecoglou to go up to the Etihad with 2 first-choice centre-backs? Like, it's so frustrating. Romero's out, Van de Ven's out. Last year we went up there with Davis and Emerson. This year we're going to go up there with Davis and Dragoshin. Very frustrating, to be honest. Really frustrating. But look,
happy to have Spurs back there.
I am actually. I am.
Wouldn't know
I am. You wouldn't know it, but look, Spurs, as much as I'm frustrated with the way things are going, it's much more exciting seeing Spurs play than having to bore through England international breaks, that's for sure.
That's right about
and
that.
Whether we're winning, losing, drawing, whatever it may be, I just love the hustle and bustle of Tottenham in the Premier League. So it's what it's all about. That's where my heart's at. So
you're an addict. That's
exactly. I'm a Tottenham addict.
Can't
no
help.
How
you
much
can't
they
help
beat
it.
me down, I just need more.
Get drawn back in, exactly. Every week you're like, I'm going to stop, I'm done. And then they just draw. As soon as that next week comes, you're drawn back into it.
So true. Like after the Ipswich game, by the whole 2 weeks I was saying, I'm done with this club. But then I've woken up to this morning with a bit of a spring in myself. We're going to the Etihad tomorrow.
Exactly. Doesn't matter. Romero's confirmed all these things. We've got Tottenham back. That's the main thing.
We'll get into the match preview a bit later, but welcome to everyone in the stream today. 125 people in here with us. Everyone scroll down, smash that like button. And also, if you haven't done already, please download SofaScore. The link is in the description below, and obviously the QR code is on screen for you guys right now. But yeah, let's get into the predicted lineup. Ange has been speaking in the press conference. The injury news is not a positive one.
So obviously confirmation about Ben Bentancur's suspension. This is the first of 7 games that he's set to be out, subject to an appeal, which is likely only to chalk off 1 game. But he will be missing for this one. Obviously, he confirmed that Van de Ven is still a couple of weeks away, which is not great news, but hopefully he'll be back for, he said, around mid-December. So I think hopefully before that Carabao Cup quarter-final was the aim. Romero is not, he said Romero's not right for this weekend, which is kind of what we thought in terms of he's been going off early a lot of games, and if he's not 100%, just be careful with him because we've got a lot of games coming up and we're going to need him for this large stretch of games. So I think it's right, even if he's not 100%, just leave him out. And he said he should be okay for next week, so that's more positive, but obviously not great out for this weekend. When it comes to Mikey Moore, he said he's going to be out for a little while, he said, which is interesting because he's saying before the break, he was only out with a virus. And he said he hasn't reacted well to that virus, whatever that means. And he said he's going to be out for a little bit of time. So I don't know what that means, but when he was going through the wingers, he said that we're going to be without Richarlison, Odegaard and Moore for this period, which is a bit concerning why Moore is out for so long. In terms of Richarlison, he said the aim for him is to be back for the new year, so we're unlikely to see him until then. And with Wilson Odegaard, he confirmed that he's going to be missing a chunk of the season, a fair chunk of the season, he said. So we're not going to be seeing him for a while, I would say, probably at least till like February time, which is a big blow for him. Even asked about whether he's tempted to dip in January in the market considering his injuries, and he said depends on where we are come January. If we're a little bit short, if we're a little bit short come January, then it just depends. If we get 2 or 3 back by then, we may not do it, but we'll see how it goes. So maybe Tottenham might be tempted to do some business with these injuries.
Yeah, it's very frustrating, the centre-backs and the wingers, because the centre-backs, I'm not too concerned. I'm very concerned just about this game alone, but we know that they're going to be back sooner rather than later. But the wingers going into this really busy period, Europa League, Carabao Cup and Premier League now, we've only got 3 wingers to take us through this period.
Yeah, that's a big issue, and the biggest issue isn't even the injuries that we got; it's the effect the injuries will have on the other players because they're continually playing, and we don't have players to come in really. Johnson, we don't really have a replacement now on the right wing for Johnson. He's going to have to play every game. Obviously, we're going to have to rely on Timo coming in a lot more. So that is, I don't know if we have anyone else in the academy who we think might get chances, but it's a big issue. And the big problem with getting long-term injuries like Odegaard and Richarlison in the same position is the pressure it puts on the players that are fit to stay fit. And if they get injuries, I mean, maybe we'll force Ange into a formation change because we just don't have the players out wide.
Can't they just give Mikey Moore like a bit of cowpole and he'll be right as rain? Like, what's going on here? Well, he's been out for like a month with a virus, and he's going to be out for he's saying still some time to go. I don't understand what's happened with Mikey Moore. He said,
with Mikey, we just need to be careful with every step of the way, and Mikey will still be out for a little bit of time. So take that as you will. He didn't confirm a time frame, but he said a little bit of time. So I don't know when that means he'll be back.
Very frustrating. But look, let's get into the lineup, who we think is going to face Manchester City. 5:30 kickoff at the Etihad tomorrow night. And in goal will obviously be our number 1, Vicario.
Yeah, and probably set for a busy game, I would assume, Vicario. So I think his shot stopping is going to need to be at his very best. I was doing a bit of research into Man City, and apparently they've definitely been taking lessons out of Arsenal's book when it comes to set pieces and putting someone on the goalkeeper and making sure he can't come off his line. So that's something he's going to have to be wary of, because it's clearly something he's struggled with, albeit, set pieces have improved slightly, but he's still clearly a bit suspect about coming off his line. So yeah, he needs to improve that in this game. And I think we did concede from a set piece at the Etihad last year, albeit it was an own goal. But still, Vicario, he didn't cover himself in much glory, I guess, over the international break, conceded from 2 set pieces again. So, yeah, it's a worry, I guess.
Yeah, it is a worry. But look, I back Vicario to show his true quality, which is his shot stopping, which is definitely going to be very much needed in this game. Right back will be Pedro Porro. I don't think he's on the best of form for Tottenham, but whenever he turns out in a Spain shirt, he seems to have an unbelievable game. So hopefully he can take that form that he showed on the international break and bring it into this game.
Yeah, I think he's going to be very important in this game, because without Romero especially, when I think about how we're going to build up from the back, it's going to be very difficult. And I think Porro's going to have to be central to it, because I think Romero's really the guy who does those line-breaking passes, and I think Porro is probably second to him when it comes to our build-up play. And so I think he's going to feature very heavily on the ball, I reckon. And obviously defensively, coming up probably, I don't know if Doku's fit, but either Doku or...
He's not, I don't think.
Okay, if it's not Doku, then that's a bit better, but maybe Grealish on that side.
It'll probably be Foden, I think.
Foden on the left, maybe?
I think so, yeah.
Maybe Foden. So he's going to have, whoever it is, we know he's going to have his work cut out for him. So obviously I think Doku would have been the biggest threat. I remember Doku last time at the Etihad really gave him a tough ride on that right back slot, and he's a great runner and dribbler. When it comes to people like Foden and Grealish, I think Porro's a bit more comfortable though against those kind of players, but still going to be a tough day for him. But I think in build-up he's going to have a very important role, and I think when we go direct to Solanke, I think a lot of it's going to be giving it to Porro and then getting him go direct to Solanke. I think that could be a good method of breaking City's press.
Right centre-back for the injured Kuti Romero will be Radu Dragusin. Did go off a bit early for Romania with a slight knock, but obviously he's been in training for Tottenham, so hopefully no worries there. He's had very poor game in his last 2 games, but the 2 games prior to that was very strong against Man City and against Aston Villa, so hopefully he can regain that form because he's going to be so vital.
Yeah, in a weird way, this game might suit him a bit more than the other games because he's going to have to be doing a lot more defending rather than spending a lot of time on the ball. So if he's doing a lot of penalty box defending, that's kind of where he's at home a bit more than on the ball trying to break lines like he was against Ipswich and where he struggled a bit. So it is, obviously he played very well against Man City in the last time we played them in the Cup, but he was playing against Foden in the false 9 where he could definitely physically dominate him. Now he's playing against Erling Haaland. Obviously, massive different kettle of fish. He's going to have to be wary about Haaland holding the ball up. He's going to have to be wary about Haaland getting a run on him with headers in the box. And he's going to have to be wary of Haaland running in behind him. And he's a senior centre-back who's kind of going to be starting. So big challenge for Dragusin. But at least they can take heart that he did play pretty much a half with Davis against City in the Cup, and they'd fared quite well. So hopefully they'll take inspiration from that performance.
Left centre-back will obviously be Ben Davies in the absence of Mickey van de Ven. And I think Ben Davies, whenever stepping in this season, he's been pretty good. So I'm actually more concerned about Dragusin in some strange way than Ben Davies in this game.
Yeah, I think I'm more worried about Ben Davies when it comes to crosses into the box and Haaland just being able to tower over him. I'm a bit worried about that. What I really like about Davis, which actually he did it against Aston Villa, and actually if you think about it, when he did it at the Etihad, one of our equalisers came from it as well. He's very good at reading the play and stepping in and nipping the ball in certain situations and setting us up on attacks, and that's where we got our goal against Villa when Davis stepped in on Ollie Watkins.
He's very underrated at that, isn't he?
And if you remember at the Etihad, when Lo Celso equalised, that came from Davis doing a very similar thing. So he's going to have to do that. And I think one way of obviously stopping Haaland is to basically get the ball before it gets to him. And Davis is going to have to step in and do that. But there's no bones about it. Physically, he know he's going to be inferior to someone like Haaland. He's not the tallest. I think he's obviously in build-up play. He might be the one we look to because Dragusin is not as comfortable on the ball, and he's probably a lot more comfortable on the ball. So he's going to have his strengths. Let's just hope his weaknesses don't get so exploited.
And then to make up that back four, left back will obviously be Destiny Udogie. With Destiny, I mean, he's been poor in a sense of his one-on-one defending of recent weeks, and he really needs to shake that out of his game because Man City are going to come for him down that left-hand side, and we need him to step up to the challenge on a defensive standpoint. Yeah,
and unfortunately for him, he's going to be coming up against a very good one-on-one dribbler in Savio, I think going to be playing on that side. So he is a real box of tricks, Savio. I've been really impressed with him. I actually think he might be like a bit better than Doku, from what I've seen so far from him. He's so electric, got such great pace, and when he gets to the byline, he has quality as well. So
he reminds me a bit of Mahrez.
A bit faster.
Yeah, he's not exactly the same player, but I feel like his touch and his crossing has got a very Mahrez-esque finesse to it.
And he's only 20 as well. He's got so much room to grow. So that's something that Destiny has definitely been struggling with. I mean, a lot of our goals, unfortunately, that we've conceded have come down his side in terms of him letting crosses into the box and either us conceding from the back post or certain situations in the box. So Destiny's going to have to be much better against a very good one-on-one winger in Savio. But physically, if he can get close to him, hopefully he can kind of dominate him. But if he allows him a bit too much space, then, that's where worries come.
In the number 6 position, Bentancur starts his first of his 7-game ban against Man City this weekend. So Bissouma comes straight in to that number 6. And you remember last year at the Etihad, he gave away with the sloppy pass one of the goals that we conceded in the first half.
That was the winner, pretty much. We should have been the winner, but we equalised.
Yeah, so yeah, it was the one that went 3-2.
3-2 to City, yeah.
3-2. Which I felt like after that kind of confidence, you saw him seep out of him a little bit. So let's hope he can right those wrongs this weekend. Yeah,
and I think he's having a good season so far, Bissouma, and it's going to be a big game for him. And with City, the injuries they have, Kovacic, Rodri, out, I think he has to see this as an opportunity to try and really dominate in that centre physically. And when you look at it on paper, he might be one of the more physical players in that centre of the park. So he's got to make sure that he's really imposing himself on the game, and he's not allowing this game to pass him by, because I think he's going to be very pivotal, first of all in our build-up, and also when City have the ball and they're putting us under pressure. He's going to have to help out his centre-backs, because we know we don't have our first-choice centre-backs out there. So I think he's got a really important role to play in this game.
Yeah. Moving into the attacking midfielders, first one that we're going to talk about is Dejan Kulusevski. We know this stadium is his own. It's named after him, the DEKIHAD. He always performs against Man City. He was speaking in the post-match interview after the cup game when we beat them, saying, everyone knows why this is so special to me. And he seems to always turn up against Manchester City, so I'm expecting a big game from him.
Yeah, he's never not done something at the Etihad, hasn't he? So every time he goes there, I think he scored every game, hasn't he? He scored every time, because he scored under Conte when we won 3-2. He scored when we lost 4-2, and last season he scored when we drew 3-0. That's the only 3 times he's played there. So he has 100% goal scoring record.
3-2 was his debut, wasn't it?
That was his That was his first start. Yeah. So Deki has 100% record scoring away at Man City, and he clearly absolutely loves it. And again, he's going to have I think he is a very key player in this, because Man City, as I've said, they are missing, as much as we're missing our centre-backs, they are also missing 2 very important players in midfield. And those players add that defensive solidity and security, which maybe they won't have as much without them. So Deki has to make sure he's exploiting that. And because of his physicality, he can make sure he's getting that space. And when he looks at in those players in midfield, most likely to probably be Gundogan, maybe Nunes, De Bruyne, he's got to be licking his lips at that and thinking, if they try and get near me, I can just bully them. I can get them off me, and I can create my own space. And he has to make a big impact in this game. And knowing Deki, I think he's going to thrive off that.
Step into your arena, Deki. This is your place, man. Make this pitch your own like you always do. And to make up that middle 3 will be Pape Matar Sarr. We still think James Maddison will stay on the bench, albeit Maddison has had complete 2-week rest, and Pape Sarr is coming back from Africa from international duty, but he had a really strong game for Senegal, which carried on that form that he's showing for Tottenham at the moment. So I think you just got to pick the man in form.
Yeah, and I think he's going to be crucial for transitions in this game. We saw in the cup game what a great game he had, and obviously he got a goal in the first half. He did he get an assist? No, he had a brilliant first half against Man City in that game.
He scored.
He scored, obviously, the goal. Did he get the assist? No, he didn't get the assist for the first one, but he scored a brilliant goal, wasn't it, from a corner, short corner. And he's going to be very crucial because, as I say, City might be lacking a bit of legs in that middle. And if anything he does have that we know he has is running power. So he's got to have to make sure that he's pressing Gundogan relentlessly, make sure he's getting close to him, not letting Gundogan dictate the play here, and obviously not allowing De Bruyne the space that he needs to really dictate that centre. He's going to be crucial as well. As much as I want Maddison back in the team at some point, and not that I don't think this is the game for it, and I think Sarr needs to start.
So that's Bissouma, Kulusevski and Sarr as the middle 3. In the forward line, we are kind of hamstrung for options. On the right-hand side, there is only one option, and that is Brennan Johnson off the back of a really strong showing for Wales. Yeah,
and really, hopefully that'll give him a lot more confidence. Really good showing against Iceland. And I think as well, this game could be good for him because Man City do leave a lot of space out wide. They do, obviously, obviously 4 losses in a row, they're going to kind of come at us a bit. And hopefully he can give Gvardiol a bit of a tough time on the left or whoever it is. I thought of the game at the in the cup game, he gave their defence a tough time as well. And one thing that Man City have been conceding is goals from out wide, and he's someone, Brennan, who can definitely exploit that in terms of crosses in the box. I know he hasn't been doing that as much this season, but hopefully this could be a game where he really starts doing that again.
And then up top in the number 9 will obviously be Dom Solanke. He's had a brilliant season so far. Was fairly rested for the international break as well. I think he came on for the last 20 minutes of the game against Ireland. So not much football in his legs in the last 2 weeks. So hopefully he should be fit and bang at it on the weekend.
Yeah, and I think what's really important in this game is we do what we did in the cup game, which is when we can go long to him and make sure that he can keep the ball and make it stick in that final third. Because one thing I am worried about in this game is our struggles that we might have in build-up if we're trying to play out the back, because Man City are a very good pressing team. We know that, one of the best pressing teams in Europe, and they will study how we try to build up, and it's going to be a struggle, especially without Romero there and Van de Ven, to make sure we're getting an advantage there. So if we are struggling to build up from the back, I think it's very important that Solanke makes himself an option and we build up in that way, because we saw in the cup game, remember that Timo Werner chance that he went through one-on-one, that came from us going direct from Vicario to Solanke, him taking it down and playing Werner through. And we have to make sure we're getting Sonny in those kind of areas that Werner was, and Solanke is making himself an option, because that is going to be a crucial way to relieve the pressure that City are going to put us under.
And last but not least, on the left-hand side is going to be our captain, Son Heung-min, another player who loves a goal against Manchester City. And the space that they're going to leave for him is tailor-made for Sonny.
Yeah, he loves this fixture, doesn't he? He absolutely. He scored some very famous goals at the Etihad. And again, another player who just loves playing within the space in behind. And I actually think our front three, as much as, Spurs are a team that like possession, Son and Johnson are very much two players who definitely like to play in a transitional game. That's where they're at their best. And I think Sonny in this one will definitely be licking his lips. Now, if Kyle Walker's playing instead of Rico Lewis, it's going to be a bit more challenging for him to get that advantage in the space. But Walker, I think himself, isn't having the best season at the moment. So I think against Brighton, I thought Matoma gave him a real tough ride. So Son has to be looking at that and thinking, if they leave me space, I need to be making the difference here.
Yeah, I still think Sonny will fancy himself against Kyle Walker. How old is he? He's like 35 now, not having the strongest season. He has been overrun a couple of times this season, Kyle Walker. So
clearly declining, yeah.
Yeah, so I think Sonny will actually fancy his chances against Kyle Walker. But let's run through that lineup with you guys one more time. Vicario in goal. Porro right back, Udogie left back, Dragsheen and Davies in the centre-back position, Bissouma, Deki and Sarr in the middle three, with Brennan Johnson, Son Heung-min and Dominic Solanke in the forward line. So that is our predicted lineup. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Would you think this is the lineup, or would you think something Ange's going to go with a different option? But look, let's get into the match preview. There's a lot of kind of things to have a look at in this game, in terms of, you look at what Spurs have done already this season, right? We beat Man City, who hadn't lost all season in the Cup. We beat Aston Villa, who hadn't lost away from home all season at that point. We lost to Crystal Palace, who hadn't won all season. Then we lost to Ipswich, who hadn't won all season. Well, Manchester City haven't lost at home for God knows how long. How long has it actually been?
Not this season. When was the last time they lost at home?
It's been a long time.
When was the last?
I don't think they lost at home last season.
What, they went unbeaten the whole year?
I'm pretty sure they did. Maybe they did at the beginning at some point.
From what I can see, you know what? I'm going back a long time here.
Yeah, it's been a long time since they've lost at home.
Yeah, the 4 losses in a row they've had have all been away from home. So, I think, I don't know. Well, I'm trying to see when the last time they lost at home. Yeah, I think the whole last season, you're probably right. It can't have been that time they lost to Brentford.
So Dave Hamilton in the comments says 2 years since City have lost at home.
Was that time they lost to Brentford at home? Was that the last time they lost?
Yeah, very well could be. But anyway, so you've got, it says it was Brentford 2 years ago.
Yeah, Brentford. That was November 2022.
So that exactly. So Man City haven't lost at home for 2 years, since 2022, right? And just the stats I've just said about, this classic Spurs, it'll be so classic Spurs to go up there and win. However, you do have Man City on the back of 4 losses. So it'd be classic Tottenham to give Man City their win in 4 games. So which power is going to be the stronger of the two?
Knowing Tottenham, probably Dr. Tottenham is probably going to be stronger. But I think Man City are not definitely in the best way at the moment, albeit in coming into this game, they're having some injuries, big injuries returning. People like De Bruyne, their back line is being replenished as well. People like Savio back as well. So they definitely have some injuries returning, but they do also have some big injuries. On the screen you can see Rodri, Kovacic, Diaz are all out. Ake potentially out as well. So their midfield is definitely, in terms of when it comes to defensive ability and physicality, is something that we should definitely be looking at and thinking, can we get an advantage there? But obviously, they're going to be looking at our back line with no Romero and Van der Ven, and they'll be thinking that's something that can definitely be got at. So it's going to be a very interesting battle. But I do think those 2 injuries for Man City are pretty significant, because we've seen how they've struggled without Rodri at points, even last season. And now they don't have Kovacic as well, which is another big element of physicality in that middle.
I think that's a big blow for them, Kovacic being out.
Yeah,
a really big blow.
Will they be able to physically dominate in the middle when we've got the likes of Basuma, Kulusevski and Sarr? That is where I think we have to look and think, can we get an advantage there?
Yeah, as someone says in the comments, if Lewis does play in midfield, that does give them a whole more lot of legs, because that guy never stops running. Literally.
More legs, but is it more physicality? That's the question. Obviously, Gundogan's a bit more experienced, but Lewis is obviously a brilliant player. I really like Rico Lewis. Maybe they move to a double pivot potentially instead of having a lone six to compensate for it, and have moving De Bruyne a bit further up. That's probably what I would do if I was Pep. But at the moment, you know, when you look at that midfield, obviously I'm not saying it's a bad midfield, especially on the ball, like that's as, you know, as good as anything. But when I look at off the ball, when they're dealing with transitions, and we've seen with our team, you know, when you don't have someone as monstrous as Rodri and, you know, to cover all that space, it's very difficult to handle. And you've got people like Kulusevski running off you, and are very fast wingers like we have with Son and Johnson, and Sarr with his relentless running power. Can that be somewhere where we can exploit? And I think Ange has to be looking at that.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to touch on a few tactical things in a minute, but if we just go and quickly look at the past results between Spurs and Man City, where you probably say, like, out of everyone in the league, we probably take the most points out of them.
Well, it's factual. Ever since Pep's come in, he's got the worst record against us than anyone else.
Which is mad to think about, right? But obviously beat them just a couple of weeks ago. 2 losses on the bounce, but that one in May was pretty much a Tottenham win anyway. 3-3 last year at the Etihad, and a 1-0 win. I mean, how many 1-0 wins have we had against them at home? But if you look at the games at the Etihad, sorry, I'm just trying to find it. Well, the games at the Etihad were 3-3, 4-2, 3-2. The last
3-2.
Last 3 games, right?
Before that was the one where Sanchez fell on his face and we lost 3-0 to that one.
I've kind of blocked that one out of my memory.
It was COVID era, I think we all...
but the 3-2 one when Harry Kane scored in the last minute, I mean, we were kind of going up there with a similar mentality, being like, oh, we're just going to get, like, what a lot of the fans are thinking, like, oh, we're just going to get absolutely trounced here.
I think we'd lost like 3 in a row before that, because we'd lost to like Southampton and Wolves, and then we lost to Burnley as well. And then we're going up there thinking no chance we get anything out of that game, and we ended up, Kane puts in probably one of the best individual performances the Premier League has seen, I would say, in that 100%. Game. And we ended up winning the game 3-2, and what was an incredible it was a classic. And it does seem to throw up classics, this game. Does definitely seem to throw up classics. Even last year, the 3-3, similar pattern. You know, Man City got to take the lead with 10 minutes to go, and we equalised in the 90 whatever minute, 6th minute or something. And even after that, if you remember, there was controversy because Haaland was played for on goal, and the referee blew up when for advantage, when they should have had advantage. So there always seems to be something that gets thrown up in this game, for sure. Always adds goals, for sure. There's always a lot of goals in this game. There's always controversy. It's always toing and froing. And it's just one of those games where you bookmark it in the calendar, because it's always a very entertaining game.
Yeah, it really is. But if we go back to the one that happened a couple of weeks ago, well, actually, let's just go back to the 3-3 for a second, because where we came unstuck a lot in that game, particularly in the first half, was our playing out of the back with Emerson and Ben Davis. They got a lot of chances presented to them. And that is a key area where I'm really kind of worried coming into this game, because we've got Dragusin, who we know is not great on the ball, and then Ben Davis, who was there last year, who's probably the better of the two on the ball, but still not unbelievable, right? So is that not an area on the pitch where you're just really worried about how Man City are going to come and hound for us? And they know, they're going to know Dragusin is poor on the ball, and they're going to target him.
100%.
They targeted Emerson.
The difference between last year and this year is we had Son up front last year, and we couldn't really go long to him. This year, we have Solanke. And that's a big difference, I would say. So there's no excuse, in my opinion, to not mix up your game a bit and go long to Solanke, go direct. He's physical enough to compete with Man City centre-backs, try and get some advantages. And if he can get the ball down on the deck, and imagine they're pressing him, and all of a sudden he maintains the ball, and then all of a sudden there's going to be all that space for Son and Johnson to run into. And they do leave a lot of space in the wide areas, Man City. So I think last year that was a big element where we struggled, but I think this season there is no excuse to at least trying to go to Dom Solanke. I'm not saying do it every time, because obviously we play our game, and hopefully I would like to think there'll be some occasions we can play out away from Man City, but it's going to be difficult, and I don't want to see a performance like Galatasaray or anything where we just continue trying to play out the back to no avail and we're not mixing up. We need to go long to Solanke, and we did it against Man City in the Cup on a few occasions and it worked amazingly, and so we have to do it again in this game, 100%.
This is the average positions in that game for the 3-3. You see Spurs a lot deeper than what we usually are. However, if you go into this game, the 2-1 game from the Cup this season, it's even deeper. Look how close Romero and Dragoshin are to Vicario. Was that by design? Was that because Man City pushed us back? Do you feel like Ange does something similar in this game?
I think he has to. I think he's got no choice. And Man City,
because we were sitting that bit higher at the Etihad than we were at the Tottenham last week.
Yeah, I think in a perfect world, obviously, Andrew would like to think that we could become a team that could go to Etihad and dominate the ball and be better than them. But at the end of the day, we're not there yet. We have to, if we're going to get a result here, we're going to have to do things a bit differently. And he said that after the game. He said when you're coming up against such a formidable opponent like Man City, you can't just rely on playing your game. You have to mix things up and you have to be a bit more resolute. And we definitely were that. When we played them in the Carabao Cup, obviously we had a lot of difficulties. We had Gray at right back on that game. Van der Ven went off after 10 minutes. We had Dragoshin and Davis for the majority of the second half as well. So we had a lot of different difficulties going to that game. But obviously Man City as well were not at their strongest. They had a couple of young players playing in midfield. They didn't have Haaland playing, albeit when you look at their backline, it was still pretty strong. But of course, in this game, we're going to have to be a bit more transitional. We're going to have to pick our moments to not dominate the ball. If you remember back in the game of the Etihad last year, most of the time we were sitting back, but we did have our moments where we had the ball and we were able to dominate it for periods of the game. And we got to make sure we have those moments as well in this one. But I think by and large, it's going to be about being resolute. But when you're like we did in the Carabao Cup game, what's very important is when we get the ball, we're a threat. And we're not just lumping the ball clear and basically giving the ball back to Man City and waiting for the next attack. We have to make sure we try and keep the ball as best we can, try and actually attack Man City's wide areas, try and get into their final third and maintain some sort of threat. And I thought we were actually very good at that in the Carabao Cup because when we did win the ball back, we weren't just lofting the ball back to them and not caring about how to attack. We actually were a threat. We were finding Brennan, we were finding Werner, we were hurting them. And that's what we've got to do in this one.
Yeah, I have no doubt with the way City play. I mean, you've seen them play the whole season, right? They give away chances. Every game they give away chances. It's very rare this season. I don't know how many clean sheets they've kept this year, but it's very rare that they've kept a clean sheet this season. They always seem to concede, no matter who they're playing.
They seem to concede first as well, similar like to us. Yeah, it's like the conceding first derby, this one, because I think in the last, I don't know, they did take the lead against Brighton, to be fair, but I think at home, in the last few games, they've conceded first in a lot of them. So it's going to be interesting who scores first here.
Yeah, so what I was saying is they always give away chances because of the high line they play. It's a bit similar to us. So it's so imperative that we take our chances when they come to us because we've got players that can put it in the back of the net. You know, Dom Solanke, 19 goals last season. Sonny, one of the best finishers in the game. And Brennan Johnson on his day can slot those from the right-hand side as well. So,
and Deki has a 100% record at the Etihad.
Exactly, and Deki has a 100% record at the Etihad. So I think these players in our front line are actually very suited to play this style of game on the transition with Sonny and Brennan Johnson on the flank. So it's so important for us to take our chances and be clinical on the day because you just know on the other end it's the completely same situation, if not even more in favour of Man City.
I kind of feel like this is going to be a game like who can outscore who.
It always seems to be.
It's going to be a bit of a shootout. So we're going to have to make sure that we are resolute. We're hitting them in the transitions as much as possible, which I agree with you. I think our team is designed to do, or is not designed to do, but I think it's very much capable of doing. And I think in terms of our forwards, when it comes to Son and Johnson, very much that's their strength, hitting the space. But I think when we're on the ball, making sure that in the centre we can really get taken advantage there and use our pressing power, our physical power in that centre to bully Man City a bit in that middle, because with Sarr, Deki and Basuma, in theory we should have the legs over them, and that could be very crucial when it comes to when we're hitting them in the transitions, having that running power to get beyond them and exploiting that space that maybe they're going to be leaving behind with those middle three. That could be crucial, really crucial to actually taking a more advantage than you think when it comes to this game. I think the big problems we're going to have is obviously Savinho on the right-hand side, him getting to the byline and getting crosses in. That's something we've definitely struggled with this season. Us being caught in our build-up, that's something that happened a few times in recent weeks, especially in a team like Man City. Very much will be exploiting that. And obviously Haaland running in behind. If we're the ones being caught out and they're transitioning on us, obviously Haaland running in behind is a massive threat. And right now, without Van de Ven, Haaland will back himself to get beyond our back line. And if they can find the perfect pass, which, De Bruyne is very much capable of, that's obviously a massive concern as well. So I think when it comes to tactically, there's definitely flaws, strengths and weaknesses when it comes to this game, where you can see how we can get advantages and how we're definitely weak in this one. So it's definitely going to be a very interesting tactical battle. But when it comes to the overall picture of the season, having lost to Ipswich, unfortunately there is a bit of pressure on us to get a result now, because we've had two really bad results against teams down the bottom. And so this is one of the games you can make up for it. And we got to hope. Look, I'm not saying we have to win, but there is a bit more pressure on us to get a result because of those results we've had.
Yeah, I think it's important just to see a really good performance in this game, because I keep talking about the Ipswich game and the Palace game and the second half against Brighton, and these poor, insipid performances are creeping into our game at the moment. So I think it's really important, win, lose or draw, to see a really good performance from the team, full of effort, full of running, full of physicality and full of pressing. I think it's really important to see that going into this game. So it's kind of like our strengths could be Man City's weaknesses, but then again, Man City's weaknesses are Man City's strengths are like our weaknesses away as well.
Yeah, 100%. And I was looking at some of the goals that Man City have conceded this season, and the positive thing for us is a lot of the goals they've conceded are very much how we like to make our chances. Crosses from the wide areas, low crosses into the box, and strikers sticking them away. I was thinking about the two goals they conceded against Bournemouth. Very much Kirkes getting to the byline, crossing it low into the strikers Semenyo and Evan Nilsson, and they got an advantage there. The goal they conceded against Wolves, Semedo crossing it across along the floor, and Larson hitting it into the goal. The goal we got against Man City at the Etihad was Brennan Johnson. It was Kulusevski getting to the wide area into space, crossing it low for Werner, and he obviously was able to stick it away. So that is definitely something how we like to build up our chances and how we like to create. And that's something that Man City are definitely vulnerable from, and they've definitely been vulnerable from many times this season. And as well, when you look at their home form, as much as their home form was brilliant, they have had some very much sticky games at home this season where they were quite lucky to get results. The Fulham at home game, they won 3-2, wasn't the best performance, and were quite lucky in that game. Southampton at home, they only won 1-0, and it was wasn't the best performance in that game as well. The Arsenal game, they didn't play particularly well, I thought, as much as they got a draw on the end of it. They didn't play particularly well.
They got the draw, didn't they?
Brentford at home, Brentford scored in the first minute, and Man City had to come back and win. Again, it wasn't the best performance from Man City as well. So They have. I feel like they've been getting away with it a bit at home this season, Man City, as much as they have been consistently getting results. I think performance-wise, they have been getting away with it, and obviously they are on the back of 4 straight losses away from home at the moment. So,
yeah, but on the flip side of that, we've only won 4 away games in the last year. So
yes, we have.
Their strength is playing at home, and our weakness is playing away.
Correct, but when you look at our performances in general away from home, we've probably not got what we should have got in a lot of games away from home, and they've maybe got more than they should have got at home. So it's a weird one how you look at it. But I think, I'm not saying we're definitely going to go there and win, but there's definitely reason to think we can go there and definitely put in a performance. And this is with this team as well, when it comes to these kind of games, like against big teams, they're going to be a bit more up for it. I think they've shown that this season against, when we played Man City in the cup.
That's another frustration for me, though. That is a massive frustration with this team. Like, why do they seem to get... I know, obviously, all players want to play in these big games, right, and get themselves up for these big games, but they should be up for every game, man. Mm-hmm. Like, why are they not getting themselves up for every game? That comment from Kulusevski after the Man City game did annoy me a little bit. It's just like, he's saying, like, oh, everyone knows what this fixture means to me. Like, you should be getting up for every game like you get up for the Man City game. It's really frustrating because if you put in those performances on a weekly basis, we'll be fighting for the top 4 a lot easier than we're doing it now. We won't be sitting in 10th, that's for sure.
Yeah, I agree with you. And that is something we need to address, and something that's clearly a problem. Complacency or not taking certain games as treating them as they are as big as other games. I think that's clear when we've played Palace and we've played Ipswich, and when we're 2-0 up against Brighton and we just let our standards completely drop in those games and we end up dropping points. And there's no excuse for that, and that's something this team needs to address. It's interesting, I was listening to Ange, I was reading Ange talking about the leadership of the team again, and about the leaders in the team, and he said the leadership in the group is continuously getting challenged by the drop-off in performance, and they're the first ones to look at what they can do to change that. So, look, the only thing we can hope for is that they are trying to address it internally. They're trying to understand why that keeps happening, and they can put it right. But at the moment, it's something that continues to plague us. So obviously this isn't what we're talking about for this weekend, but for sure, as the season goes on, that's something that has to be addressed. Otherwise, we're not going to go anywhere.
Well, you look at the leadership group, just the leadership group, for example, Son. I'm not going to put anything down to him because he's been in and out of the team through injury, but I think he's more or less kept up his standards. Maddison, as much as he's not having a shocking season in terms of performance, he's been taken out the team, right? And I don't think he's playing probably close to what he could be playing at in terms of how good we saw him in the first 10 games of last season. His ability is a lot more than what he's showing, in my opinion, this season. And Romero as well, like, his ability is a lot more than what he's showing this season as well. Like, how many goals have we accounted to Coutinho Romero this season? So you're looking at the leadership group in terms of performance level at the moment, and it's not good enough, is it?
No, it's not.
So they need to have a long, hard look at themselves and really find some consistency in their play.
Did you see Deki in midweek? His speech.
Yeah, I love that. I'm hungry. Let's eat.
Let's eat. And how he ate, he was stuffed by the end of that game. So that was what I watched. I was like, God, I wish he could be giving some team talks in our dressing room when I watched that. Yeah. That was like, wow. I got fired up watching that.
How many times have I said it this season? Deki should be in the leadership group. He really should be. He's got that mentality about him. He's got the dog in him, and he's also captain material, in my opinion.
Yeah, but just because he's not in the leadership group doesn't mean he can't take a leadership role, if you know what I mean.
I get that, but he should also be kind of commended.
That's what Ange said as well.
It's true. It's very true, but I think he should be one of the ones that puts on that captain's armband. I think he deserves it more than a Maddison. For sure. I still don't understand why Maddison came in straight away and he was part of the leadership group. He needs to earn the right. And I think Deki has earned that right, but I don't think Maddison has yet.
Yeah, and it was a kind of a gamble from Ange to do that because he knew Maddison was coming in as... Well, when you look at the squad now, he is one of the more experienced players, and he was coming into a different phase of his career where he was looking to take more of a leadership role, and obviously he was brought in as a player who was going to be one of our main players. So I think Ange gambled on the fact that if he makes him one of the vice captains, he can really embrace that role, and I think he's taken it on, but unfortunately, obviously, he's been inconsistent, and now he's out of the team. So I don't think that gamble at the moment you can say is paid off. And I think maybe if you asked him now if he would have done the same thing, maybe he would give a different answer. But I can understand why he did it at the time, but maybe he might have got that one wrong.
Yeah, I think so. I just don't like. I don't think it sends out a good look, like you signed and then straight away you're, of a very high stature. I think he should be of a high stature in terms of what he's done in the game, but everything he's done was for Leicester. He needs to earn the right at Tottenham before he gets part of that, that leadership.
I was thinking about this before. I do wonder if these injuries to our wide players might actually, in a weird way, give him a route back into the team if we have to play Deki out wide some games, because as much as we want Deki in the centre, the reality is we can't keep playing Johnson every game.
Maddison play out wide?
No, I'm thinking you put Deki on the right and then Maddison come back in.
But I'm saying, can Maddison play out wide?
Maybe.
Because he's got quality in his crossing. He knows how to beat a man.
But I think Maddison's the kind of... Yeah, maybe. I mean, maybe.
He has done it in the past. We kind of
but
slated Southgate for doing that, for putting Maddison out on the left wing.
But can he play on the right wing? That's what we need. Can he go on the outside of players? I don't know, maybe he can fill in there, but I think Deki's more suited to that role than Maddison. And I'm not saying Deki's going to have to play there a lot, but I'm just saying, in certain games where Johnson's, definitely feeling it and whatever, and he can't play every game, and we might have to play Deki out wide there just to fill in on occasion, and maybe that could give Maddison a bit of a route back into the team.
You know what, though? I think I would prefer to put Maddison out on the wing than Deki. I know Deki's played there more regularly recently, specifically for Tottenham, but I just want to keep. You need to keep Deki in the centre. He's like our best performing player at the moment this season. And Maddison comes in, he does an all right job, but it's nowhere near to the level as what Deki's doing it. So I think Maddison actually does have the quality to do a job for us out wide. So I think I'd prefer to see Deki stay in that middle, and if need be, then Maddison go out wide. But in terms of looking back at the form that we were talking about before, Man City on the back of 4 losses, right? And usually I'll be licking my lips at the sight of coming up against a team that are on 4 losses, but I kind of feel like we're coming up against a wounded animal that are Man City. They haven't lost at home for the last 2 years. Pep Guardiola has just signed a new 2-year deal.
Second time that's happened this season, right? Because Arteta did it just before the Arsenal game.
Yeah.
And they got the win there, and now bloody Pep's done it.
So do you think like that Pep deal, that signing, could really like buoy the fans and buoy the team as well?
Yeah, I do, to be honest. And I think that does give them a bit more of that edge going into this game. I'm sure there'll probably be some sort of, there'll probably be something for Pep to acknowledge that he signed a new contract, and that can get the crowd a bit louder, and maybe you'll get the players even a bit more fired up as well. And those things can make a difference in these kind of games. Those players a little bit more fired up, because as much as I'm saying, we can maybe get a bit of advantage physically in the middle, if they're all fired up and they're pumped up on Pep signing a new deal, and they've got that exuberance, that can kind of compensate a bit for it, not totally, but a bit. And those little advantages can make a big difference. So I think Pep signing a new deal just before playing us isn't good for us, to be honest. Not to say that means they're definitely going to win, but I think that gives them a bit more pep in their step, as they say.
But it is 2 teams off the back of, in different form going at each other, and both teams are going to want to prove the doubters wrong. Spurs probably have more doubters at this moment in time, even though we've won more recently than Man City. But that's because Man City are 4-time champions, and we've seen them have poor form in the start of the season before and come back at the second half of the season and just romp, like go on 20 straight wins or whatever it may be. So I do think Spurs have got a lot more doubters to prove wrong come this weekend. But I just don't think I don't want to be facing the prospect of playing Man City on the back of 4 straight defeats, particularly at the Etihad, because it kind of is inevitable, kind of.
Yeah, it's going to be... Look, we're playing Man City. Anytime you play Man City, it's going to be a very, very difficult game, especially when they've got something to prove as well. Pep saying, he asked in his interview, he was asked, why did you sign a new deal? And he said, off the back of 4 defeats, I couldn't leave now. And, I had, essentially saying I have to put that right, and this is not the time to leave.
He wasn't going to leave now, though. He was going to leave at the end of the season.
I know, but he's like saying this shows to me that I need to stay for a bit longer, and that tells me they ain't losing 5 in a row. Like that kind of told me, like, God, like this has really affected him, this run of games, and that is just worrying to hear. And obviously they're going to do everything to make sure that's not 5 in a row. And as much as there's a lot of tactical things we can definitely get advantage of, whether that gets us the win is another question. I'm not going here hopeless that we can't get a result, but I also you have to be realistic with the fact that this is the best. This is a team who won 4 titles in a row. This is a team who are getting in key injuries back. This is a team who are going to be fired up by Matt Pep signing that new deal, and this is a team who are still unbeaten at home this season. So, as much as I think we are capable of getting a result with the players that we have, I just think this could be a bit of a tall order here, going to the Emirates and winning, Etihad and winning.
I do agree with that, but also the way I'm looking at it, it'd be just so classic Spurs. After everything, Spurs go up to the Etihad and go and win, and then we get beaten by Roma on Thursday night. Dybala has a stormer, and then we get beaten by Fulham at home next week. I mean, it'd be so classic Spurs to go and do that. Like, go beat Man City at the Etihad, who haven't lost there in 2 years. Second loss in a row in the Europa League, and undo quite a lot of hard work and good work that has gone in the opening 3 games, and then lose to Fulham at home. It'd be just so classic, wouldn't it?
That's how Tottenham usually like to do things. So if we like to do things the hard way, that's Spurs for you. But I think we got a chance. We definitely have a chance, especially with the way we're set up and the 4 players we have. I think it's perfect for exploiting what City have to offer. I think we might have a bit of advantage in the middle as well. But I think it's going to be a tall order keeping them quiet, because De Bruyne is back.
There's no keeping them quiet.
We've got no centre back. We've got none. Our first choice centre backs aren't there. So it's going to be I think it's going to be a real end-to-end game. I think it's going to be it could be a classic, I think.
I think for Spurs to get anything out of this game, we need Haaland to have another game of like what he had last year at the Etihad. That's what we need. And with him and De Bruyne, with their link-up play, De Bruyne is probably going to be his first start in this season, or a long time anyway. I just can't see that being the case, because he missed so many gilt-edged chances last year. Emerson was just playing him through on goal time and time again. Let's just hope Dragusin has a good game, because, like I said, they're going to target him. And if he hesitates and stutters like he has done on the ball quite a few times this season, it could be a long afternoon. Yeah,
hopefully we're not going to be as gifting as we were last time at the Etihad. And also, last time at the Etihad, we had a lot of other players on the pitch, which maybe meant we couldn't be as good on the ball as hopefully we can be on this occasion. Solanke should be better at holding the ball up. Hopefully Son out wide will be better at exploiting the space than Bryan Hill was. Hopefully in the middle, I think we had in the middle 3, we had Lo Celso and Lo Celso, Deki and Basuma, I think it was the middle 3. And then we brought on Højbjerg at half-time, and it really helped us contain Man City a bit more. So hopefully starting with, Deki, Sarr and Basuma, that could give us a bit more advantage there as well. So I think there are reasons to believe it could be a bit different to the Etihad as it was last year. But, after losing to Ipswich, we need a response in this game. But Man City, at the end of the day, if they play at their best, as much whatever we can do, as little we can do if they're at their best, because they're the best team in the league. So we just got to hope they have a bit of an off day, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. That is our match preview going into the game at the Etihad. What is your score prediction?
I said 3-2 to Man City. I think it's going to be a real topsy-turvy game. I think we'll have chances, they'll have chances, but I just think I can't see us going to the Etihad right now with under the circumstances and getting a win. So we don't really draw, so I've gone for 3-2 to Man City.
Yeah, I do think we're gonna get beat as well. I've gone in my predictions on the Premier. I went 4-2 to Man City. If you're a betting man, definitely over 2.5 goals or even over 3.5 goals and both teams to score is probably a dead cert in this game. It's going to be raining down goals at the Etihad tomorrow night. If you're a neutral, you must be licking your lips in the prospect of watching this game. But I think we're going to get beat. I think it's going to be 4-2, and let's just hope that we can show a bit of mentality and have a good performance and shut them out and stifle them somewhat. Me and Sim will be up at the Etihad. You've got a Spurs Kings takeover in the studio for the watch along with Ashmatic and Marlon. So let's hope we can bring 3 points back down from Manchester. And you know what? Me and Sim have gone up to the Etihad quite a few times and taken on 3 points. So let's hope we do it again. But I want to know your score predictions in the comments section below. I want to thank you all for joining us today. That is our match preview. Please do go and smash that like button, smash that subscribe button as well. And if you haven't already, download SofaScore. The link is in the description below, and also just below me with that QR code where you can download it, scan it with your phone and download the best footballing app with the best stats on the market. But once again, we'll see you all very soon. Like, subscribe and comment, and as always, come on you Spurs.